So, what I'd like to do is, as a material supplier to a significant proportion of the people who are already in this space, I guess we have a good broad-based perspective on the issues that customers are facing, and we see our own customers wrestling with certain challenges. So what I would like to do is to take the opportunity to frame some of those issues and have more expert people on specialist areas lead us through their perspective on how those issues will be addressed over the next 2 or 3 years. So to start, I don't think, and if you've looked around the show today, I think the evidence speaks for itself. But the mood for the PV industry is generally one of really quite extreme optimism. The sun is still shining. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And I think that there is a widespread degree of correlation among almost anybody who's tracking this industry that we will see explosive growth over the next 3 or 4 years in terms of total installation. The question is, to what extent will thin film really be a proportionate beneficiary of that growth? The forecasts are great. The forecasts overall are good. The forecasts for thin film are good. And just to take a data point that I have on the slide here, EPIA, who's the European perspective, is that they see thin film being as much as 16 gigawatts of production capacity by 2014, which is a substantial proportion of the market by that stage. However, there's no doubt that over the last couple of years, significant challenges have emerged with the improved competitiveness and improved performance of crystalline. I think it's fair to say that mostly the shifts that we've seen are permanent. So there are challenges that thin film needs to address that are different to what the industry faced 2 or 3 years ago. So these are the challenges that I think we'll talk about today, and I think that there are answers to most of them. But let's hope that our panelists are able to convince everybody. So from our point of view, we look across our customer base and we see that the fundamentals for thin film are still in place. 2 years ago, people were looking forward to these things. We see that today they appear to be closer than they ever were, and these fundamentals are essentially the building blocks that can enable thin film to overcome any challenges and to take this significant place in the PV opportunity. So from a technology perspective, everybody talks about a 10% efficiency threshold. There are manufacturers out there that have demonstrated 10% efficiency in production environments. In lab environments, we've seen 12% or better. Theoretical efficiency, of course, is another matter, and that has potential far beyond even what's been demonstrated. From a scalability perspective, I think we've already seen that there are major turnkey manufacturers like Peter's company Oerlikon and others who are able to offer today modules in excess of 100 megawatts that enable companies to enter the space at a scale that is commensurate with what it takes from a cost-based perspective to be a major player. From a cost point of view, there is an argument that has always been in play that thin film, from a fundamental perspective, should need less material and therefore should have the potential to be fundamentally lower cost than the other technologies. I think Peter will probably talk a little bit about that today. And from the market, does the market exist? I think it was a question that was on everybody's lips perhaps 2 or 3 years ago, but this is something that, to a large extent, we don't have to speculate anymore on. The one company, the largest company in the PV industry, the largest module manufacturer in the PV industry, is a thin film manufacturer, and they've demonstrated that if you have a product that has the characteristics of something like 10% efficiency and something like $1 a watt cost base, there is a very substantial market already in existence today. So, the fundamentals are in place, but the challenges do require some urgent solutions. We talked about this technology threshold, the performance threshold of 10%, and it is clear that this is a threshold that is critical to the, I suppose performance and cost go hand in hand here, but this 10% threshold of efficiency seems to be a critical milestone in the evaluation of success for the thin film manufacturers. This $1 a watt cost threshold, this is a movable target, and I think it will continue to move according as the crystalline manufacturers continue to drive down their cost base, but it seems to be a minimum threshold. I think Peter will also come and say that even this may not be good enough. From a scalability point of view, we know the OEMs are out there, but I think it is important that the people who are doing turnkey lines are able to demonstrate that they can put these turnkey lines into production and can do it quickly and reliably and repeatably. Some are doing it well, others are having some problems. And from a market point of view, we have lots of manufacturers now entering production with lines that were purchased over the last 2 or 3 years. There is an issue that is talked about and sometimes not talked about of bankability with the modules. I think it's very important that manufacturers who are the early adopters of silicon thin film do manage to overcome these issues around bankability, and that we start to see more and more of the early lines producing modules that are going into the field. And then finally, on a longer term consideration, this industry exists largely because of sustainability drivers, and we see it as being a key consideration that throughout the value chain and the manufacturing chain of the PV industry, that these principles of sustainability start to be embedded into the genetic makeup of the industry, such that we don't have non-environmentally friendly or unsustainable manufacturing practices producing a product that is then seen to be a key ingredient to alleviating energy production from non-renewable means. So from that point of view, I think these are the challenges that we see time and again from our customer base, and these are not challenges that are related to a particular OEM or turnkey manufacturer. They're not related to a particular geography. We see them repeating across the globe.